At least 13 people have reportedly been killed in the latest wave of gun violence in the Western Cape. They were all reportedly shot dead within just the last week. There are also reports of school children being targeted by gangsters using WhatsApp. Let's get the view now of the Western Cape Provincial Government. Bring in the spokesperson for the MEC for Police Oversight and Community Safety, Nefdt, joining us from Cape Town, I believe. Kurt, good to have your time on the SABC. So you've got more than 10 people shot dead in just a period of about a week or so. A school that now has to consider closing its doors because gangsters are reportedly targeting children. It appears the area resembles somewhat of a war zone.
Hi, good evening, Tembekile, and good evening to your viewers. Yes, the ongoing incidents of gang-related shootings in Cape Town remains a big concern. And I want to reiterate that this can be closely linked to the alarming proliferation of illegal firearms and ammunition in our communities.
How many people have actually been killed in this sort of violence in the Western Cape, let's say in the last 8 months, because it's August now?
Okay, I don't have that stats with me, but we are awaiting the release of the latest crime stat release that will take place within the next few weeks. But the amount of people being killed remains alarmingly high.
Alarmingly high, to say the least. What is actually being done on the ground to ensure the safety of people, especially the most vulnerable, the children in schools such as the one in Lotus River?
Michele, although policing remains a national competency, the Western Cape government invested extensively in the safety over the past few years to support the South African Police Service. That is through the funding of the Law Enforcement Advancement Plan project. And through that LEAP project, approximately 1,000 additional officers are deployed to areas most affected by violent crime and murder to serve as a very important force multiplier to the South African Police Service.
So you say that, Kurt, but Jeremy Very, who was in the police service in the Western Cape, holds a slightly different view in terms of the effectiveness of boots on the ground, if you will, SAPS deployment being increased, etc., as a means to tackle gangsterism in the Western Cape. In fact, he suggests that what you may need to do is a more nuanced approach to fixing or improving policing in that area, i.e. Improving the number of detectives, people who would do the investigative work, so bringing in more skilled people at that level versus, let's say, cops who are driving up and down the streets on the daily.
Yes, I agree with you on that one. That's why we are working on releasing or finalizing our new safety plan. And that involves a more citizen-centric approach where the community itself will also make inputs into how we tackle issues of gangsterism. And we must confess as well that gangsterism is a very complex issue with which is deeply rooted within our communities, especially in the Western Cape. And while we are somewhat encouraged by the progress that has been made by Operation Chanela 2, which saw combined forces from the South African Police Service, LEAP, the City of Cape Town Metro Police, and they've actually confiscated over 56 firearms in the month of July alone. And that talks about the big problem we have with firearms. And that brings us to another issue that, yes, the crime intelligence capabilities in the Western Cape is severely limited and under-resourced. And that's why we are advocating for the devolution of policing powers to the province.
I hear you on the seizure of weapons, etc., Kurt, but do we know if that's actually making a difference? Because people are continuing to be killed. For example, how well has the province done in figuring out where these illegal guns come from? We don't even know how many are in circulation.
Yes, when it comes to the confiscation of illegal firearms, in my view, every firearm that was taken off the streets is potentially a life that was saved. And taking back to the issue of finding the source of these firearms, that is where our capabilities of investigation and intelligence come in. So we are advocating for the devolution of policing powers, and devolving more powers to municipal and provincial level will actually increase our intelligence and investigative capabilities, which will allow us to to tackle those root suppliers of the firearms.
And on the issue of policing, we know it's a national function. The Western Cape government has been trying to get it to be brought down to them for years now, Kurt. But if the police service itself is infiltrated, for instance, by police officers who are doing the bidding of the numbers gangs that are so prevalent in some of these communities, what difference would giving the policing powers to the Western Cape actually make if the service itself is infiltrated, as the likes of Jeremy Very are suggesting is the case?
Yes, with having more powers and actually decision-making powers in the police service will actually help us to channel resources and even deal with such type of alleged corruption within the police service and on a more effective level at provincial level, because you are closer to the issues.
But would it be able to fight the capture, shall we say, of the police service by gangs? Because as you would know, some of these gangsters run very intricate webs, and because they've been able to amass so much control and money, you may have to first clean up on the inside.
Yes, definitely. That would be a huge task, I would say, because identifying corrupt individual, that should be dealt with on a case-by-case basis, and what would definitely help is better intelligence gathering capabilities.
And you wanted, for example, in your new plan to be more community-centric, but how do you get communities to trust that whatever information they bring forward, for example, will not then be used for them or to have them targeted and killed, once again, given the spread of these gangster units or channels, shall we say, and how influential they've become over the years?
Okay.
Kurt, we're unable to hear you. I suspect you may have been muted either on our side or on yours. Let's see if it works if you click.
Can you hear me now?
Fantastic, we've got you back. I was asking you about how you get community buy-in and trust when the gangsters are so spread out in their immediate communities, recruiting, we're hearing even young boys, children.
Yes. As viewers may be aware of, over the past few weeks, we've been actively engaged in the Mitchells Plain community, for example, where we've extensively engaged community stakeholders, and we are busy finalizing the drafting of the Mitchells Plain Safety and Development Plan, which will see a more integrated response. And we've actually have quite a number of stakeholders coming on board, and we can really see the support of the community in driving out gangsterism in their community. So what we are trying in Mitchells Plain, by having all these stakeholders on board and a lot of government departments, provincial and at national level and at local level, to all have a collective response to tackling the gangsterism issue in Mitchells Plain, and not specifically only the issue of gangsterism, but the root causes, the contributing factors to crime.
Kurt Nefdt, good to talk to you, a spokesperson for the MEC for Police Oversight and Community Safety in the Western Cape, speaking to us on the SABC tonight.